A lot of times in ministry, I come across people who have the same question. How do I know that God will use me? A lot of times they are so unsure and they're afraid because they think they're going to let God down. My marriage is not together. I don't know enough scripture. I don't know how in the world can God use me. But I tell them the story that my mother told me years ago. I was a young minister and was not quite sure that God could use me like I was because I didn't know a lot of scripture. I didn't know a lot of anything, really. But this is what Mother said to me. She said, Paula, when God sees you, it's just like making a chocolate cake. And I had no earthly idea what she was talking about. I'd been called to ministry and I was so very afraid. I was afraid that I didn't know enough ministry. I was afraid that I didn't know enough word. I was afraid that I didn't look the part. I was just simply afraid. Fear had me stricken. What if I mess up? I had stage fright. I had so many things going on in my mind. She sat me down and she said, baby, when God sees you and he calls you, he knows who he called. Put into mind you're going to the store to make yourself a German chocolate cake. When you walk down the aisle and you look up, you see the finished product on the box. You never ever see what's inside. You never ever look at the fact that it's powder form. Yes, it's powder. Yes, it needs eggs, it needs butter, it needs milk. It needs the lumps beat out of it, a whole lot of stuff. It has to be put in the right mold because if the mold is too small, it'll overfill and overflow. If the mold is too big, it'll be too thin and it'll burn. So, you get the right mold and you put it inside of the stove and now you got the cooking process and you got to cook it and after you cook it, then you got to wait and you got to allow that cake to cool. Because if you cut it too soon, then it'll fall apart. And you can't enjoy it yet. You can't put it in your body yet. Why? It's because now you got to deal with room temperature frosting. She said, Paula, when God called you, he knew you were in powder form. He knew what was already in you. He knew that you needed a little bit more patience. You needed more scripture. You needed more time, fasting, prayer, all of that. But he never saw that. What he looked at and he saw was the finished product. Yes, you need a little bit more strengthening in some areas. But God knows who he called. So what I'm saying to you today is it may feel like you're not ready. It may feel like you're going to mess up. It may feel like, why call me Jesus? God knows exactly who he called. Be encouraged. You're exactly where God needs you to be at this point in your life. Don't be concerned because God knows who he called. Whatever's missing, he will add it unto you. Be encouraged.